It's time to talk about Perplexity. So let's discuss. Welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co-host, Chris Branch. This is the daily 10-minute podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one subject. And today, we're going to talk about Perplexity AI. We've spoke about certain platforms throughout this podcast. We've talked about ChatGPT many times. We've spoke about Runway ML. Midjourney has been a favorite. We spoke about loads of different ones, the Sunos, the Udios. But I don't think we've given enough time to Perplexity AI. The reason being is that when you speak to a lot of people in this generative AI space who's been using the tools quite a lot, if you ask them what their preferred LLM, so large language model is, you'll probably see Perplexity coming at the top, followed by Claude, followed by ChatGPT. So we want to talk about Perplexity in this session because it is something that we've been using quite a lot. And the more and more we use it, the more and more we're starting to see that it's a really, really good platform, to be honest. There's no other way of putting it. It's a really, really good platform. So, Chris, what's your thoughts of Perplexity and the large language model space?
Yeah, I mean, I like the way, similar to how we talked about Hydra recently, going at video a different way. You know, that's the way I think about Perplexity. It is a difference to the normal LLM experience. Yeah, and that's why it's found its way into so many professionals' days' work life, because it's multiple tools at once, really. You know, you first talked about it when it was like a browser extension, you know, and it would sort of follow you around the web and then summarize things and do nice things like that. But it's progressed so much to being like a bigger than a search engine, you know, like it's gone from a tiny thing that you would add to your search experience to search the whole web through us. Yeah. You know, so it's gone very, very quickly into something a lot more powerful than what it started. But they've always seemed to have the right direction. And the most usefulness, you know, to people in their professional lives, this is. So, and that's, we saw, you know, a little segue here. We saw their advertising deck where they're pitching it out to big advertisers about how professional their users are. And it's staggering. 80% of them have undergraduate degrees. 80% of millions of people that use their platform are all educated, because they realize the value of research and the size, you know, the speed of the workflow that it can grant them in their everyday working lives. So that's what we're talking about here, is a platform that's really, really appreciated by those that do research and have a professional job where there's education and research as part of that workflow. And that's very different to just LLMs, write me some Eminem lyrics of Shakespeare, you know.
No, definitely. I think, as you said, when I first started using Perplexity, I liked the Google extension because I would go to a website. So let's say I've gone to the BBC or the Guardian or wherever it may be, and I can't be bothered to read the whole of the article. So it was a very nice extension. You can still use it. You click it, summarize this page, and it just summarizes it. And I thought that was a really handy tool. Because before that, you had to copy it all out, put it into ChatGPT, say summarize this, etc. And then when I started using the actual Perplexity.ai, I think that's the URL, started using that more, I kind of realized this is a search engine, but the search engine of the future. Yeah. The way you could get information, the way it could, it was one of the first that could actually look at the web. It was up to date. You could ask it a question. So if I was looking, how do you cook, sourdough bread? Popular search term. You type that into Google, you get whatever's optimized best for Google. Here, what it will do is it will look at several different results and it will say, this is it. This is the way to do it. But where Google, you type that in, you go to the top search, see information. Here, you get the result and then you can say, I don't understand when you say put this amount of tablespoon of sugar in or a tablespoon of this in. Can you explain more?
Mm-hmm.
and then it will go into detail. And it really is how search should be now. Now, it'd be good if you can, because before we was talking about an interview that the CEO of Perplexity did, and he said a quote, and he said, "Humans has evolved past search engines."
Yeah, but he also was given. So it was on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he was talking about how useful search engines turned out to be.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all well and good having the world's knowledge on the internet, but if no one can find it, it's almost pointless.
So true.
Yeah, so that's like the idea of search engines. And he said that Google's done such a good, idea of this space. And obviously his advertising deck that's floating around the internet right now is a reflection of, him even saying, oh, Google advertising is probably the monetization for this type of collection of data on the internet and sorting and sifting and servicing it to people. Now, no one's denying how useful Google has been, but, to reduce information to 10 blue links, and then that's on page 1. That's like the famous Google thing is 10 blue links. If you don't exist there, you don't exist in terms of the answer of that question. And now those 10 blue links are 3 paid for links that aren't necessarily the best answers at the top. Then a generative AI summary of the question that you asked, which is also not 10 of those blue links. Then it's YouTube clips of things that exist because Google owns YouTube. And then it's something else in terms of like a drop-down box for frequently asked questions or go to Wikipedia. So now everyone that owns a website goes, my value is no longer really in the Google search space, and they're ready for something else. And that's what he was alluding to. He said the SEO people are ready to write rich snippets, which are kind of like what Google does with its summarization of, the question that you answered, but have that information pull a link to their website so that they provided the most valuable answer to an AI rather than just to a search engine that would categorize things in terms of ranking values that they weren't even aware of. Because AI platforms are willing to let the website owners know what they need to do in order to make it through to the AI suggested answers. So SEO has always been a bit of black magic when it comes to, like web stuff. No one really understands how it works. A lot of people say they do, but unless you work for Google and you understand it, I don't even think if you work there, you'd really, truly understand how complex their algorithms are. You probably have to be one of 5 people that founded the Google algorithm in order to truly know what the hell's going on. Because there's billions of parameters and stuff, Like, it's beyond most humans' comprehension. So it's kind of like appealing to people that AI is a lot more straightforward than it is appealing to Google. And Perplexity is willing to make that very obvious what they need to do to be a Perplexity answer. You need to provide 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 bullet points. Google's never really said that's what you need to do to turn up in our search engine.
People have guessed.
They always allude to the things.
There was a guy called Matt. I can't remember his name. Matt something, who worked for Google. He was kind of like the main guy. He would do these videos. But again, a lot of people would say, I don't trust it because you do that and then it just wouldn't work. What they're forgetting is to say, all right, who did it come from? Oh, it just so happened Accenture said that. But Accenture was going to get there anyway. Or another company that spent a lot of money on AdWords. That's the reason why they're number one. But I think that going back to what you was talking about, the evolution of search, it's almost like what got us to where we are now as a society, Google search got us here. As you said, we're now ready for the next venture. We're now ready for the next evolution, which now I'm not saying that Google can't do this. Google is in the best position to capitalize on this. But at the moment they've kind of dropped the ball or they can't get it right, where Perplexity, they've got it right. So one, I wouldn't be surprised if Google tried to buy Perplexity, but I don't know if it's too late now, because I don't know if Perplexity will just kind of do its own thing. But the second thing, what you mentioned, and this is when you talked about the ad deck. Now, one thing that I spoke about before is the golden era of AI. The golden era of any, whether it be social media, of mobile marketing, influencer marketing, what changes it from the golden era to it coming out of that? There's a few things. And one of them is monetization. Once someone works out how to monetize it, you can't use the platforms like you used to. Just like with Facebook, I don't know if anyone listening remembers Facebook before it had the ads, even before it had the apps. It was just a pretty straightforward platform. Same as Instagram, you know, TikTok. That was all pretty straightforward, really nice experiences. Once ads came into it, then it changed. And now that they're trying to work out how to get the ads in, and they will, and whether it be Google might work it out, or Microsoft for ChatGPT, or whoever will work out how to get the ads, and then things will change. And that golden era that we're in now, which is ad free, we can just kind of use it, will come to an end. So in a nutshell, Perplexity, if you do not use this tool, and by the way, we are not sponsored by Perplexity,
No.
it is worth checking it out. And then you can then see some of the things that we've spoken about. And we've only talked about a touch of it. We'll probably do a follow-up episode on it, or at least talk about it in a lot of other episodes. But in a nutshell, Perplexity is a tool that we both highly recommend and worth checking out.